so embrace your dreams. Sometimes you gotta take a loss just to get the win, like lots of sims popping it like oxygen when boxes wet. Focus on the mental, never lose like smooth instrumental. Better choose on the move in a pinto, choose what I get to. Never lose smooth on the move, but it's simple. Never give up and we running it, maybe. We just keep winning, we conquering daily. Envision that pay me is never the
The boom is right. That's because it's Tuesday night here for Divots and Pivots. And as always, I am Andrew LeDuc, a.k.a. Mr. Mallard. And Divots and Pivots brought to you, as always, by Acorn Hills. Get on over to acornhillsco.com. Use discount code TBFY15 for 15% off your order. That deal will always be there no matter how many times you buy stuff. It's none of this first whatever. It's always good. Use it, get the 15% off. They always have great new lines, clothing, and little fun golf accessories as well, all for the greater good of our earth and for society. So help out the boys over at Acorn Hills, Nate and everybody. And without further ado, as you noticed, and we talked about last week, Bud is on a little hiatus with us for a few weeks. He will be missed. And, because Bud is who Bud is, I can't just replace Bud with one superstar. It takes two superstars to replace Bud's stories and antics on the show. So with me tonight and possibly next week, a mixture, whatever, if they can both, whatever, you'll see their faces again. Regular guest of the show, TJ at TJ Needs a Beer from Scoreboard Addicts, and Mr. Keith Flemming himself from Fantasy Six Pack. Boys, how are you guys doing? And I know I'm ready to sit down and talk some golf.
I'm a lot better than Tommy Fleetwood.
There we go. Let's see, we're going to jump right into it. I figured we would, but before TJ, I know it's hot. Is it hot like down for you too right now, Keith? Like it is for TJ and I, because we're dying up here.
Dude, it's already been over 95, 10 days in Georgia, and they are calling for the next 2 weeks. And for those that are not from the South, like the 95 is not the bad thing. It's summer. The humidity, like you walk outside and seriously, you are sweating within 30 seconds of being outside of the air conditioning. So yeah, it is just, hot Lana taking on a whole nother term right now. So I try not to complain about it because I hate cold weather. And, these few months are not, nothing for when I can wear shorts in December. But it's intense right now. Be careful. Drink a lot of water if you're in the South and you're outside. That's all I'm saying.
That's what I'm jealous. I know TJ had to relocate today because, his beautiful bar, which he's got one of those setups that I'm most jealous of because he's just got like this nice pristine bar behind him when he's on shows. So I'm sad for you, TJ, that you don't get that. You get to be in there tonight.
Yeah, the garage is sweltering at this point. I walked out there and just started like setting up, and I had the exhaust vent fan pulling all the heat out of the garage. I had my circulating fan going, and it wasn't helping. I think if the real feel right now by me is like 108. I believe the temperature got up to 99 today, and it's this is 2 days in a row. Yeah, it's been brutal, and like you said, the humidity up here is intolerable. I'm just happy. I have a charity golf outing on Friday, and it's only supposed to be like 77. So I'm like, you know what? That's all well and good. Like get the heat out of the way now, because the last thing anybody wants to do, and I love golf, but golfing in humidity and 95, 100 degrees, you just can't win.
Especially scrambles, because there's going to be a lot of cocktails. What I just said about drinking water, it's usually the opposite from my experience at scramblers. Yeah, where people are just pounding beers and, Bloody Marys at 7 a.m, and the next thing you know, somebody's going to the hospital, and it's like, I don't know what happened. It was only 100 degrees. He didn't drink any water and had about 7 cocktails by noon. Like, this is beyond me.
And then what did he eat? Oh, he had some steak tips and bread at lunch.
Seven hot
dogs. He didn't eat anything. He said, and I quote, "I'm not messing up this buzz. Are you crazy?"
Yeah, exactly. There you go. PJ, is the only question I have about your garage and the heat, is the whiskey okay out there? The ones that you have out there, or did you relocate them accordingly?
So I have moved the whiskey in like summers where it's going to be extended, like hot. Like, this is just a weird 3-4 day break for us. And then it should go back down into the 70s and low 80s. But when it does get like hot like this, like the dog days of summer in August, if I see the bottles just starting to like weep a little bit on the inside, a little condensation, they all get loaded up and I bring them down into the basement.
Love it. That's a man who protects what's important. I gotta love to hear that. Before we do get into Tommy Fleetwood, Keegan Bradley, and all the fun stuff of golf. I do have a quick story to go down here because I did something this past on Saturday for the first time. And I was a little skeptical about what this experience was going to be like, but I got fitted for a driver for the first time. I did not buy the driver yet, but I got fitted for a driver.
Welcome to the future, Andrew.
And I was shocked at the results. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be really weird seeing this new brand in my bag once I have it. But I just did it at Addicts, and I walked in, and there was like this older guy there who was obviously like the golf professional there or whatever, but he was busy. So this other kid like had to have been maybe 16, 17, 18. The guy was like, okay, you're going to do the fitting. And I was like, oh man, my first fitting, and I'm like, what's it? Okay, we'll see. I was
Can
like,
I see your driver's license before
yeah,
you?
but I was a little skeptical, but I'll tell you what, I went in there and I did a couple swings, and he hit some buttons on the keyboard. He goes, okay, let me see that club. And he knew exactly what he was doing. He looked at the numbers every 5 swings, and he made adjustments to the heads. He's popping heads off, put them on new shafts, new grips, and all this. And I'll tell you what, the kid knew what he was doing. And in the end, I ended up in a Cobra Dark Speed LS, which I was not expecting to end up in a Cobra. I've always played TaylorMade, or really mainly TaylorMade is what I've always played. So the Cobra, that was interesting to me, but the numbers don't lie. My spin was like half of what it was off of the other club faces. My carry distance was like 50 yards more. I was hitting it straighter, and my club head speed was over 100, and everything else was a no-brainer. So much, it was better than Ping, better than TaylorMade. Those are the other two, I guess, comparisons he gave. So have you I mean, sounds like Keith, you've been through the fitting process. TJ, have you been through the fitting process as well?
So a little bit, not as heavy as my buddy just did. He went for the full set of irons, and I mean to the point of, his lie angle and everything, and but he was prepared for it. He dropped like $1,400. He knew he was making the investment. He's like, I'm not buying clubs again for like 10, 15 years, so I might as well spend the extra bucks now and figure out where I'm at. And apparently, like, 1 degree of lie angle, how the club interacts with the turf can make a world of difference. And I think that that is the future of golf. We see it on tour every day. I mean, the first thing a PGA pro, at least somebody that's going to go by judging your swing to somebody else's, your first lesson, will look at somebody like Scotty Scheffler and be like, that's terrible. Right. And yet it's like the guy's dominating. Like, imagine somebody telling him like, no, we're changing everything you're doing right now. Those feet need to stop moving. And instead, I like the fact that, like, listen, most of us don't have time to go, chip balls every day or, hit 100 putts. And so if I can get a club that's going to be a little more forgiving to the way I actually swing, which is a baseball heavy type of swing, I'm going to take every advantage I can, especially when I'm spending the money.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Did you have similar experience, Keith? Have you done the irons and the drivers? Just like, what have you done? Both?
Well, I mean, I was an apprentice in the PGA program back in an earlier life, so I kind of learned how to do fittings, but it was so much different then, and that's what I was saying now. Like, even with the 16-year-old, like, as long as you understand what you're looking for on the monitor, the technology has come so far with these launch monitors that I don't want to say a monkey could do it, but I mean, seriously, like, you're basically just trying to get certain numbers, to a certain standard, and that's all you're changing. And again, it's the same thing I used to tell people all the time about taking lessons. Like, if you really want to play golf, at least take lessons for a few months, because it's so important getting the fundamentals. To your point, it's the same deal here, where, no, it's not going to make you Tiger Woods or Scotty Scheffler, but it's exactly what TJ was saying, is it's going to make it easier to swing the club that feels naturally to you, which is something I always did when I was a teaching pro, was trying to work with what feels comfortable for people. And it's just going to make it easier to hit the ball well and have a good time. And that's the biggest issue with the game of golf, I think, right now, is people forget you're supposed to have fun. I see people playing, from way too far back and getting way too, it's like, the game doesn't have to be hard. Like, it is hard, don't get me wrong, but you don't have to make it even harder. It's okay to take a mulligan. It's okay to say, well, that's a gimme. Like, all that stuff's okay. Go out there and have a good time. If you're throwing clubs and, blowing your top, it's probably not the hobby for you, man.
Yeah, I mean, I've been there for sure, but I do.
We all have. I mean,
yeah, but I
yeah.
do agree with your sentiment. And now that getting my son and potentially, my stepchildren here and my daughter into it as well, like in the coming years, and really this summer, as we're starting that journey, like it definitely puts into perspective. Like I took him out on Father's Day, him and my daughter, and I hit a bad shot at one point, and I was like, God, and I didn't like go crazy or anything. I just simply was like, oh man, like. And I just let out like a sign. He could just tell that I was like disappointed. And he just, it's okay, Dad. We're just playing. It's just a game. We're not playing in a tournament, Dad. And part of me was like, you shut it. You like let me. But then I was like, no, you are humbling the hell out of me right now. And like
he understands
I wish
managing.
I always had that positivity because it was beautiful to hear and fun. So
I think managing expectations is the biggest key to playing golf at the best of your ability. Like if you go out there and believe, even though you always shoot 85 and a good round is 78, 79, and let's say you're even par through 12, and then you struggle down the stretch and shoot 78, if you're upset, you're an idiot. Like you just are. Like you have to manage your expectations. That's a really good round for you. Like you normally shoot 85 just because it didn't end well. That's why we play 18 holes, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? It's not over until it's over. And just the Golf Zen book is one I highly, highly, highly recommend. I read it all the time, especially when I'm playing tournament golf, because it's just a lot of what we're talking about now. Like learning to just accept, what you are. Really, you can only focus on the shot in front of you. And the main thing is just, again, managing expectations, going out there without unrealistic goals, and just try to continue to incrementally get better. And you will. I promise you, you will.
It is how it goes. And that's honestly a perfect segue into the Tommy, the epics of the weekend with Tommy and Keegan, because after all the actual golf and what happened on the course and the celebrating the excitement, all of that, once that energy level died down for me, one of the main things I took out of it all was, damn, Tommy Fleetwood is class. He is exactly the type of player the tour should want in the forefront of the media, of everything. The way he handled the loss, the way he talked about it, the way he talked about what's coming next. That's what you want, at least, all generations of the game of golf to hear and to be influenced by. And just like I said, the word I just could not get out of my mouth was class with Tommy, because he just handled it so well. Even the way he stood on the green as Keegan was about to hit that winning putt. Like he didn't do anything crazy. He didn't watch. I don't blame him. He didn't want to watch. Yeah. He had his head down, hand in his head, and he just, you could see after he heard the cheer, he just the shoulder just and said, okay, let me just go through the motions now. But there's something pretty special to be said about how you can conduct yourself in that way, especially in this age of, and I'm not saying this to try to be mean or stir the pot, but like the Colin Morikawas and Rory McIlroys right now, the way they've handled the media over the last year, like I get, we don't need to go down that hole tonight about the two of them, but this is just another way, and it works. From the way you guys are nodding, I'm assuming you had similar, but do you have anything else to say simply to start about Tommy's handling of the situation after the golf was over?
I think he's always been class, though, and that's the one thing I like about YouTube golf is you don't get to see these guys other than on a CBS broadcast or a Golf Channel special or something like that, right? And when these guys interact with people like us, I would consider like normal dudes that go out there, play golf for fun. We are competitive, but we're just not at that top tier level. And then when you get to feel like you meet somebody, right? And anytime especially Barstool Sports had Tommy Fleetwood on a bunch, the foreplay guys, and he just comes across like the nicest guy in the world. And then it gets backed up by losing with grace and that amount of class. How do you not love somebody like that? And I think that's why people root for somebody like Tommy Fleetwood. Like, yeah, this dude deserves his first win. We're all pulling for it. Unfortunately, he didn't go out there and do it. But, it's nice having villains, but it's also nice having somebody that you can sit there and like watch with your kid and be like, this guy is exactly how you should handle yourself out on the golf course. And he just lost a few $1 million. So if you can't do it like that when you're out there playing for fun, like you said, Keith, take up a different sport.
Right. I feel awful for Tommy,
Mm-hmm.
mainly because we saw this with Rory at Augusta, and just, obviously how much it had affected him, right? Like not being able to get over the hump at a venue that everybody assumed that he would win, right? Because it's tailor made for him. And even in winning, right? He tried to give that thing away 400 times. And I keep saying, if it wasn't for Scotty cutting his hand, making some pasta, he wouldn't have won that turn, because there's no way Scotty Scheffler lets Rory make all those mistakes and still win that green jacket. But I worry about Fleetwood moving forward, and I don't mean, obviously he's made, I think I saw 30 million without a win just playing golf. So I'm not worried obviously about his life or his family, but again, we saw it with Rory. It gets harder the longer you go and the more heartbreak you have like this to get over it. And golf is a game that I think most people who do not really follow the sport, especially who didn't play it, they don't realize how much is between the ears. Because in every other sport, you're reacting, right? Like you're defending a guy, you're hitting a ball, you're shooting, it's all these reactions. In golf, there's just split moments where there's action, and then everything else is you and your thoughts. And your own worst enemy, right? Like constantly going against you. And as somebody who really, I don't want to say enjoys this stuff, I just find it fascinating watching him on the back nine, very similar to what I've said about Rory at Augusta. You'd see the shoulders start to shrunk, right? You'd see like that little pop in his step get going. With Fleetwood, I noticed he was getting quicker and quicker, and he seemed to be taking less time over putts, and the head was obviously dripping a little bit lower. And I do worry that this could be something that prevents him from ever winning on the PGA Tour. And that would be a real shame, because he's an unbelievable golfer. He has one of the best all-around games in the world. I mean, there's no question about that. You can just look at any metric. Like, he is a solid golfer. Tee to green, on the greens, around him, everything. And unfortunately for him, he wants it so bad. And who wouldn't in this situation, that he's putting all this unwanted pressure on him. And then he also has drawn some really bad luck being, the two best shots against Nick Taylor in Canada. It's like, so nobody's pulling for him. And
Right.
he gets Keegan freaking Bradley in the Northeast. So it's like,
Exactly.
in both situations, as nice as Tommy Fleetwood was, I promise you there was nobody in the crowd going, go Tommy. They were like, fuck you, Tommy, that kind of stuff probably.
And that's the thing, because that is like the undertone this ended up, at least for me, the undertone ended up taking was like a precursor to the Ryder Cup. Like that's what it felt like, just because Keegan's the captain. Like it all felt like that intensity. It was almost like just a preview into what we're gonna get. Not necessarily the matchup, obviously, between Fleetwood and Keegan.
Maybe though.
It could be, but just the energy alone, like that's what it felt like. And I do agree with you, because that, I think, Keegan, we saw what happened when Keegan won the last time at the Travelers, like how big of a deal that was for him and for the community up here. I get you saying you're worried about Tommy. I'm a little less worried about him when it comes to the upcoming Open, though, because I feel like if there was a place that he could, get his head at least a little bit more right, because that's the thing.
Technically not a PGA Tour event, though.
I know it's not. I know, but like
I agree with you. Like anytime he's overseas, I have no worries. But I'm just saying,
5 international wins.
I do think that in the U.S., it's only going to get tougher from here, because it's the same reason that every great golfer starts as a unbelievable elite putter, and then over their career they get worse, because it's human nature. You remember the missed putts way more than you do the ones you make, no matter how great you are. Even Tiger Woods and Jack, near the end of their prime, started to kind of dip with their putting, because that's just human nature. It's what makes this game both so amazing and so infuriating, is you're your own worst enemy. You're always the thing holding you back from, your potential. And everybody, I truly believe, struggles with it. And then the greats like Tiger and Jack have found a way to sort of, funnel that and embrace it. But even, somebody like Rory, who's without a question one of the best golfers in the last 50 years, he is a mess. I mean, if you see him sometimes in these tight situations, he will do stuff that you're just like, what was he thinking there? And that's why I would just wish these guys would be a little bit more candid, because I would love to hear, like, truly what is going through their mind. Because I don't know about you boys, but like if I'm in a tight match on the back nine, there's no telling what's going to be going through my mind over a 3-foot putt, or when I got 120 over water, or in a situation like that.
See, and that's where like Tommy's so close to getting out of his own way, like because even this on Sunday. All it was going to take was even par to win, really. Like he was technically, even though he started off rough 3 over in the first 4 holes. Well, actually 2 over because he had a birdie in there, but still he had 3 bogeys in the first 4 holes. He was able to settle it down, get a string of pars, mix in a couple birdies. Going into 16, he was even par on the day. He was right back where he was, 16 under, and that was starting to look like at that time enough. So like it was really once Keegan started to make that last push that he felt it, and he started, I think, like you said, he got into his head. But we're talking about 3 holes. Like he was almost there.
We're talking about, though, 140 yards. And I'm sorry, that's where I have a hard time believing he's going to get over this. There is no simpler shot on tour for a guy of that level with that skill set from that distance than where he was on Sunday from the fairway. And, I mean, that was every bit as bad as Rory's shot on 18 at Augusta, which was actually probably worse because that was like 105 yards and Fleetwood was 140. But in both of those cases, to me, it shows more of those guys are really thin mentally. Yeah. The fact that they missed those shots when, again, both of those, at least with Rory, that's kind of always been his thing, is he's not a great wedge player despite being the greatest driver maybe of all time, to where Fleetwood is an outstanding player, like consistently from that like 1 to 150 number. Yeah,
well, and I think what made that worse obviously was the last minute club change. Like that not only did
indecision, which is that's nerves.
Yeah. Not only did he miss it left, but he just came up way short. Like that in that situation you can't do that, and that's where someone like, and we'll get to the more positive side of the story now, where Keegan, I think, he's putting himself in a place where even if he's not top 6, he's going to have guys asking him to pick himself to be on the Ryder Cup team, because he saw that shot, saw the situation, and said, yeah, it's time to buck up, and he stuck it. He put it there, and he let him. What's most impressive about what Keegan did is he let himself be in the moment. He let himself feel the emotions, get excited, recognize it, and then brought it down, leveled it off, and moved forward.
And followed up Henley chipping it in by making burnings. I thought that was going to rattle both of them.
I did too, but
it did apparently Fleetwood and not Bradley.
It did for Fleetwood, but all Keegan did, if you saw the close-up of Keegan, he just gave him a look and a point like, hey, like, not a respect, like game recognizes game, good shit.
Right.
But that's was probably the most impressive part about Keegan for me, was being able to control his motions, because what I think we lacked in the Ryder Cup last time around was any emotion at all. We got it too late, and we got it over something in the heart. Yeah, we got it too late over something stupid of a hat. And sure, it worked for a little bit. It provided us a little bit of hope and excitement, but like, we need guys on this team that are going to let themselves get a little crazy for a moment, but they got to also be able to turn it around and control it and get back down to earth and do what needs to be done. Keegan's a prime example of that. I want to see the playing captain, first one since Arnold Palmer, and I think it was 73, sometime in the 70s, I believe. So
that's right.
That's where I want to touch on this next, because I'm now so incredibly hyped for the Ryder Cup. I was before, but this is feeling like Keegan could be on something special here as a captain. Are you feeling as excited, TJ, as well, or do you still? Not still, sorry, I don't want to say that you had. Or do you have any reservations about Keegan as a captain and being able to put this team together?
I mean, I think the reservations go out the window when you see what he did. And like Keith, you saying golf is definitely between the ears. The difference is when you can control that and then feed off of that, which generally doesn't work well in golf, right? A lot of times you see a player come off a bad hole and then hit an extra 15, 20 yards with the driver. And it's like, all right, that's adrenaline going. But that's not really what they're trying to do. They're more trying to be mechanical and control everything. And they want the same situation and know how the turf is going to interact with the club. And that's where it goes awry. And I think that's the biggest difference. And I kind of agree with you, Keith, where Tommy Fleetwood should kind of, the longer this goes without him getting over that hump, the more he's going to be in his head. And clearly he doesn't thrive under the pressure, right?
Yep.
I mean, And that's not a, most people don't. I mean, Tiger Woods was a freak of nature.
Yes,
right. Like Tiger Woods was a freak of nature. Tiger Woods was like, I don't care. My knee is destroyed. I'm going to play through this because I got that shit today. Like literally that's, you know what I mean? Well, like he was feeding off of stuff that like a running back would be like, you know what? Give me the rock. I'm going to barrel through anybody that gets in front of me. Like that doesn't work with golf, like at all. So to see Keegan Bradley like ride that emotion and then like dig in and get to that grit, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, now you got to ride that wave, right? You don't walk up to a roulette table and you see red come out 13 times in a row. You don't want to be the dude to bet black while everybody else is making lots of money. You want to get on that wave and try to jump in on the fun, right? So how do you not,
I'm the opposite.
propel
I'm
it?
a numbers guy, but
I'm a numbers guy as well, and I will every once in a while play villain and walk up with like a random green chip in my pocket, like black's coming out. Because the problem with that is when it comes out, you walk away with a grimace, like a little smile, like sorry guys, and everybody hates you.
What, you think this was going to happen forever? Like I'm not the moron here. Don't look at me. I'm not the villain.
Oh, well, listen, when it comes out again, that's number 13 in a row, you walk away like an idiot. Like, damn it. And everybody's just like, that's what you get, buddy.
Yep,
exactly. But that's what you know that going in. You're like, I'm either going to be the guy that they're pissed off because I won.
They're going to either blame you for it not happening, or make fun of you for, exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
In that situation, though, I do. In roulette situation, yeah, sure, just go for it. Why not? So, yeah, I'm all here for Keegan. And I also said that, so there's a very good chance that Russell Henley locks himself into the Ryder Cup just as being in the top 6. He's right on that kind of line right now. I think last I looked, he was like 6 or 7, I want to say. So he's right there. We still got some golf left to be played. So like I do think looking at some of those names currently in that top 6, top 12 area, if you want to even go there for an assumed captain's pick.
Is any of the live guys in the top 6? Bryson?
Yeah, I believe. Let me pull it up, but I believe Bryson was in there. I think he was the only one though.
Because if they don't right the wrong with Keegan, and I know it's going to be difficult for him because just from what I know about Keegan, he's not a me guy. He never has been.
Right.
And it does take, some arrogance, confidence, whatever you want to call it, to be like, look, I need to be on this team. But to your point, Andrew, I think there is going to be guys being like, look, we need you on this team.
Exactly.
And the main thing is where it's at. It's in the Northeast, which again, Keegan has thrived in Northeast courses his entire career. He knows how to ride a crowd, which I think is huge. And I just think there's also a little something extra to your point of like win one for the Gipper, right? Like the captain or the coach is like actually out there kicking ass and taking names. Like I think that could really get an already what's going to be bonkers crowd at Bethpage Black, like just on another level. And what's really interesting is I think Keegan has a chance to sort of separate himself from 99% of the golfers in the last few decades by really having a moment here that is bigger than just the game of golf, where I think this Ryder Cup's going to draw a lot of attention, again, being in New York. And I think that if he can be the captain, play well, both play it, well, and, win as the captain, I think it's a real chance for him to become a household name as much as golfers can, like outside of the super, duper stars.
And then roll into the TGL and get my Boston Frogs a champ. I'm kidding.
Right.
But I'm not kidding. So right now, the current, top 6 is Scotty, then Xander, JJ Spawn, Henley, Bryson, and then JT. That's the current top 6 that if it was all today, they're in. So Scotty is obviously the only one who's already qualified. He's not going.
I think he's safe.
But your next 6 is where it's interesting, and beyond that, the guys that are outside that next 6 that are in that 12 to 20 range is where I think we're going to see some movement in the coming month or two here with the way these tournaments shake out. Because we got Colin Morikawa at 7, we got Ben Griffin at 8. Keegan Bradley's all the way up to 9 now. Like I said, and I've said this all along, if he doesn't, like you said, he's not a me guy. If he doesn't play himself into the top 6, I said he was going to have to be top 9 earlier a couple months ago for him to probably feel comfortable picking himself.
He said that he needed to win to have any. Okay. That's what he said on Golf Channel after his victory.
Oh, I didn't.
Was that
okay.
He said that he goes, now I'm really considering. He said, I really am. Because he said, we've already talked about it. We've already planned it. But I told the guys the captains and the guys that were kind of locked in from the get-go that if I did not get a win, it's a non-starter. Like, it's just not.
Okay.
He goes, I needed to win to be in that conversation. But to me, it sounded like from what he said to Chambly and those guys that with this win, if he can continue to play well through the rest of the season, I think he's leaning towards picking him. I absolutely think it's the best thing because they need more guys like him and Russell, who are guys that not only are they just dogs, like these are guys that don't ever give up a hole because they're just such good ball strikers and they seem to always, make the putts when they need it. I just think that we've kind of gotten away from that. Like I love, Colin and those guys, but they just don't have any fire. And like Henley has fire. Like that's why I miss Patrick Reed. I talk about it all the time. Like Patrick Reed should be on these Ryder Cup teams. Patrick Reed cares. And like I can't ever tell if Colin wants to be there or not. And I get it. You're making $50 million playing golf. Like I'm sure at times you probably don't want to be, but you can just see some of these guys it means more. And I think guys like Henley and Bradley, it does. And you look back to the USA teams that have had the most success in the last 15 years, it's been the teams with the guys you don't really expect. More of these Keegan, Russell, Henley types. Like they're littered with them. They have 4 or 5 of those guys on the roster.
See, with those comments you said Keegan made about if I don't win, it's a non-starter, that gives me so much confidence in what he's going to do with his captain picks. Because that means he's not just going to strictly look at the numbers in the standing and say, oh, this guy has played consistent golf all year.
Yep.
He's going to specifically be picking. He might do that with a couple guys just because, you need to have some safety blankets in there. But I think he's mainly going to be looking at guys who he thinks it's a, high risk, high reward kind of like he just.
Who outside of the
who
top
can take
6
the top
would you
off.
guys say has to be in there? Because for me, the only one that has to be is Ben Griffin, the way he's playing right now.
Okay, I'm glad you brought him up because I love Ben Griffin. Loved Ben Griffin for the last couple of years. I've talked about him on the show a bunch before. He's gone on this beautiful run this year that I'm absolutely enjoying.
There's also a cause and effect, which to me is a big deal. Like he had those eyes done, and if you look, there is a direct correlation since he's had that done to the way he's played. To me, where it's like, oh my God, was it just this guy's eyes were messed up?
Which
and now
it could have been. We've seen that happen in baseball.
Oh, I mean, how important is it? Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's extremely important, I would think, in a sport like this, that your eyes are all there. But, like, I think Griffin needs to be there. And, again, Colin is somebody that I'm not happy with what he said earlier this year. But I also just think because he's so good tee to green, you just can't leave somebody like that out when you're going to have alternate shot because he is, to me, the perfect, foursome, player is, Morikawa. He's outside of that. Right now, I'm open to just about anything. So, like, for me, it would be those two, obviously Keegan. And then that's where it's like, okay, let's have all kinds of decisions. That's if the 6 kind of stay the way it is right now, the way you laid it out.
See, I do want Patrick Cantley sitting at 14 right now. I'd like to see him. So I'd feel better about it if I saw him just play a little bit better leading up to it. But he's someone that even if he's just playing a hair better right now, he's built for the Ryder Cup. He's built for team golf. Like I 100% love that. Outside of that, like I'm looking only to like the 24. Like someone like, here's the thing, like at 23 and 24, we got Akshay Bhatia and Michael Kim, like great golfers, love them, but I don't think they necessarily have the chutzpah for the battle that's going to happen.
I was going to say, Beth Page is not only going to intimidate the Europeans, like you got to be, to me, like if I was Keegan, I would be leaning into a predominantly veteran
right, because when's the last time the tour's been to Bethpage? It's been a long ass time.
18, right? When Brooks won the PGA. I believe.
Yeah. So like it's been a while. So like a lot of these guys that we're talking about here either were just coming on the scene back then, or weren't there at all. So I mean, that's what I agree with you. The veteran route seems to be the way to go. But I mean, it is going to be hard with some of these guys that are playing well, like the Ben Griffins, like the Maverick McNeelys, Andrew Novak, like they're in
See,
the
like
mix.
to me, there's a different class there. Like Griffin's won it twice. You know what I'm saying? So like to me, he's in. Those other guys, that's where I'm like, I would rather have a Patrick Reed. Like honestly,
I agree
over those two guys. Like any day of the week.
I mean, we all are agreeing that golf is in between the ears, and yet we're not going to play the head games on the course. And Patrick Reed is the guy you want because he's so easy to hate, especially if you're not American. Like he's going to get in your face without getting in your face. He's going to let you know. And maybe he's not going to do it on the score sheet, but shit, just that rabble rousing on the sidelines might be enough to just get in somebody's head and force a missed putt or a screwed up chip. And it's like, and that's where you go down the rabbit hole of like who I think would be a fun like team guy. Like in my mind, like
to me,
Billy
if Spieth's on
Horschel
the
out
team,
there,
you've
you know.
got to put those two together. Like to
Oh,
me, if
even if you
Spieth
have
makes a team, you have to put Reed and like let's get that back together because the JT Spieth thing, I know they're buddies. It has not worked out. They broke up Reed and Spieth, and they had like for the first time in forever our European team. Like we've always wanted, like these two young kids that you throw together. Europeans seem to be able to do every 5-10 years. And we broke it up, and they haven't played together now in a decade in a Ryder Cup. And I believe they're like 6-1 in team matches. It's like we need, to me, if Spieth's on the team, you need to add Reed, and you just throw them together because their short game is so good, whether it's 4 balls or foursomes. I like those guys versus anybody because they have very similar games, even though they're not, completely the same. Because both of them they just seem to always get by because they're just so elite on and around the greens.
See, and here is where the numbers game for those decisions would get interesting. And I totally agree with you on both of those points. Like, I would love to see that because, like I said, I want the team. I honestly kind of want a team of half assholes. Like, I want a team that's going to go out there and stare the team, Team Europe down and tell them what's up. Because that's the Ryder Cup the last few times out is only getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and we are truly at this point where it's going to this year grab a lot more mainstream attention. I think we're going to see more mainstream morning shows talking about like this is going to have the eyes,
because it was the Ryder Cup that the brawl happened, right? Like, or I know brawl is a bad word, but like with Cantley and Rory and all that. So like I think that there's going to be a lot of attention on that, obviously, and just.
It's going to be a rowdy crowd. Right. At the very least, it's going to be a rowdy crowd.
New York is going to be, Sergio, hit the damn ball.
And they're pissed off about the last Ryder Cup.
Yes. So, I mean, you got the teeth in Bethpage Black, then the New York attitude, and the fans that are showing up, dropping $700 for a ticket to be out there. Exactly. I mean, they're going to let everybody hear it. If you're not waving an American flag, you're on the hit list.
You think you're better than me? Yeah,
exactly. It's going to be, especially all these people that are going to be sitting in the miles of traffic. I believe the last time anything happened at Bethpage Black with the tour, I mean, you're talking about 4-hour traffic jams, and it's just so. Like you said, it's Andrew. Every media outlet in New York City will be covering it. Because it's going to be like, hey. Hope you're not traveling out to Long Island today because enjoy not going anywhere. The PGA Tour is there. You got so it's going to be spoken about big time. And I think golf has exponentially taken off every year since COVID. COVID grabbed a lot of people, and you were able to play golf outside, and it was something to go do. But COVID ended and golf didn't. That climb remained and everything kept going up. And I don't know about by you guys,
DFS and gambling, I think, is also helping. More people are watching because they're realizing, like, oh, wait a minute, this is actually a sport you can make money in, unlike a lot of the other ones.
Oh, yeah. And the hole-to-hole betting, especially now with the Ryder Cup, is just tremendous. I mean, dude, but that's what you can sit there and say, I'm only going to bet $80 today. And just do $5 holes here and there, go back and forth, and you can have yourself a hell of a time and be like, I think I'm up like $30, whatever, great day. Exactly. I'm down 25, who cares? It gets your skin in the game, and it's enough action that you're like, this is awesome. You know what I mean?
Right. You have just enough 100%. Hope with what you might win. And to close out the argument for Patrick Reed to get on this team, he's actually not as far down as I thought he was in the rankings.
Of his major championship
33rd in the rankings.
Yeah.
33rd in the rankings. And those are the only times we've.
And he won a DP event, right? Or didn't he win some kind of event in December or something in Hong Kong? I think.
See what I can see. That sounds vaguely right. I'm not 100% sure, but I know he's been playing.
That might be why he's a little higher too.
Pretty good this year. So Reed definitely, I think there's a solid case for Reed to be on this case, even if say he's outside the top 20, 25.
So what is it? The first week of September? When are they doing it?
It's the end of September.
End of September.
I think it was the 26th to the 28th or something like that.
I wish they would have done it outside of football season. I continue to say this. Like, to me, if they want to make this a big deal, like, this is the time to do it. Like, right now, the NBA Finals just ended. Like, I know you got the NBA draft and Major League Baseball is going on and stuff, but to me, it's only once every 2 years. Like, let's get it where it's the marquee thing, and there's nothing else going on. And I think a lot of these sports kind of miss out on that. Like, you should take opportunities when it's kind of the dead sports season.
Yes, and I think, you know, we've had bigger discussions, Bud and I, about how we might see something in the future as far as a long-term place for Live to live, is maybe at like some sort of fall, like maybe they shift their things, because they're playing internationally mostly. Like, they would have that ability to make, you know, weather, for instance, work for more of a fall swing and capture those eyes. Like, maybe that's a long-term kind of landing spot for them. But this isn't a Live discussion. This is a Patrick Reed discussion where I think
Patrick Reed.
I do think, because of the way Keegan Bradley is approaching this captainship, because of the way he felt slighted last time out by not being picked, and I think he's gone through all the different emotions with the teams he's been on and not been on, that I don't think anybody really outside the top I think anybody inside the top 40, honestly, is probably at least going to get at least a couple minutes of consideration on his mind. I think he's going to look at a lot more people than previous captains have looked at. And I like to talk to both of your points.
It's not going to be the good old boys club, which is what it felt like the last two times.
That only means good things for Team USA in the Ryder Cup.
Completely agree.
It's going to set the tone. All right, before we move off of this past week, any more final thoughts that you guys had on you know, Pebblegate or anything? I mean, TJ and I were talking about the damn Pebble, which I thought was
what
ridiculous.
happened with Hovland? Does anybody know?
So you brought up Hovland, and you reminded me about how much he pissed me off this weekend.
He pissed me off too, buddy. Like, I finished in the money in a $200 single entry on DFS on DraftKings with freaking Hovland, and it's like, if he'd have got me 20 points in the final round, I would have won at least four figures.
He was my one and done, and it was that one fucking round.
I just never saw anything though about like the injury or anything. He just withdrew, and I don't know what happened. Yeah, like what happened with the withdrawal?
So I did see something about the injury. So he said about 5 minutes before tea time, when he was on the range, he heard a pop and felt some sort of twinge in his neck. And it was kind of, you know, 5 minutes before.
I don't ever doubt injury. I just had not heard anything, and I was like, why did he withdraw? Yeah, it
was a legit neck injury, and I think what spoke to that was the fact that he did go out there. He played, I think, was it two?
Yeah, I think it was
three holes, whatever. And immediately withdrew. Like, that's something that it wasn't like he was on hole 12 and 7 over, and he said, "Ah, fuck this
John Daly." Remember what was the major where he was like putting it up the hill? I said it was rolling back to him, and he's like, "I'm done."
I'm done. Yeah, exactly. It wasn't like that. This was a legitimate injury, and like, yes, you can't help that. That is what it is. It's annoying as a bettor. I'm more so annoyed because of that, the Friday round, because he went out there and crushed it on Saturday, crushed it on Thursday. If it was only for that,
shows his wedge game is still what holds him back, because you would think, like the wind would be the ultimate Hovland, you know, advantage, but obviously he was a little off that day. The difference being he doesn't have, like a lot of those other guys, that ability when he's not on with his ball striking to save the round. And it just, to me, it really did. It stood out that even on a day that you would think would be tailor-made for him, because he missed so many greens and fairways, he had a nightmare time, because he's still not very good scrambling, except for in the majors, which I also don't understand that. But at least 4 times a year, you can pretty much count on he's going to be pretty good around the greens.
Right, he is. All right, let's jump forward, because we only got about, 15-ish minutes left here. Let's jump forward to this week at the Rocket Classic, because we have a few interesting things. We'll talk some fantasy, but one of the quick stories I want to touch on is because of the withdrawals, a bunch of guys have withdrawn this week, coming off of obviously the U.S. Open, followed immediately by the signature event last week with the Travelers.
Why are they withdrawing? Do you guys know that? Like, why? To me, I don't understand why you wait until now to do it, is my complaint. Like, I understand the schedule thing, but I don't get why, like, 2 days before there's all of a sudden all these mass exits. I don't remember this happening.
If I had to guess, and I have no data to reflect this as being remotely true, but this is the way I have viewed it and feel about it, is that they're coming off knowing the U.S. Open and knowing a signature event right after that, and just the locations of those tournaments, with this one being in Detroit this week for the Rocket Classic, I think a lot of guys were probably leaving themselves open to that. Okay, we got the Open in just a couple weeks. If I didn't like my game at the U.S. Open, if I didn't like my game, like, I'm gonna need another thing. Yeah, I'm gonna need something. And if they were just happy enough, then this was. We saw Shane Lowry freaking shot out of there and he's back home until the Open. Like he's taking a few weeks off. He's
He
happy
needs
with
to
where
be.
he's at.
What's going on with his game?
Well, right. So that's more of a So like I think that's where it's coming into play. And unfortunately, we are with the signature events and whatnot. We are just going to see that these tournaments, some of these other tournaments now, just become tournaments that guys just don't care as much about. And you hate to see that it's one that's in Detroit because I think there's opportunities there for something good for tournaments in Detroit. But what this has opened
opportunity
up
for other guys, though, man. That's what I love about these events, and for gamblers, big time opportunities.
Well, definitely for sure. But the main opportunity that this has created is that James Piot is back in the field this week, and that may not sound like a big deal to anybody. Most people probably don't know who James Piot is.
I appreciate you sending me this, so I didn't find out about it on air. Like seriously.
But James Piot, a couple of years ago, the young up and comer, he really was starting to look like he obviously still had some work to do. But
he's one of the top amateurs in the world.
Correct. For his level, he was looking like he had the stuff, and he was going to be going places. He decided to take a deal, went to Live, and that was that. I believe it was last year he got cut from Live. It might have been the end of the season before, but he did not continue on with Live. He got cut, and he is now, because of a sponsor's exemption and the withdrawals, in the field this week for the first time that we get a previous Live player playing a PGA Tour event. Now, obviously, not affiliated with Live anymore, but this does kind of spark.
It's a precedent, man. It's a big deal. It really is.
It is about what it looks like to come back. Now, obviously, James Piot, with where he was going into Live, that amateur level, and like to go back to the Corn Ferry Tour and whatnot, that didn't really make too big of a difference to him. It was kind of what he expected, what he's used to, and it worked for him. He's able to get to at least the point where he's getting an exemption. So that's great. I love to see him back in the field and where he goes from here. Keith and I were talking earlier over text about what does this look like for the road going back now, though, because a lot of these contracts, as we know, the bulk of the heavy hitter names are up. They're coming up at the end of this year, in the next 18 months or so. Are they, and I guess at this point, the speculation is that these guys are going to have to grind it out and get their points back up until they get that card back and they can shake off that.
They got to make things right for the Rorys and stuff of the world.
Right.
Because I would be freaking seriously ready to murder somebody. It's like I turned down 200 to 300 million guaranteed.
Yeah.
And now you're just going to let these guys waltz back in. Like there has to either be, whether it's a fine, whether it's, to your point, them going through a feeder tour system.
Right.
There's got to be something. And I would hope that they at least get the PGA Tour players that stayed, the core guys, their input on it, because I do. My dad was a member of the union for almost 50 years. I believe in this stuff, right? Like that, seniority matters and sticking, with your company and all that. And because of that, I do not, as much as I want to see Bryson and all those guys, they should not be able to just waltz back in. It's not fair to the guys who did, stayed when the PGA Tour said, if you leave, you cannot come back. That was specifically stated. And so the guys that stayed, they cared about more than just the money. They cared about the majors and, the history and all that stuff. And I don't want them to get screwed over a second time. That would be a real shame.
Now, TJ, I know you're a big fan of Live. Like you were about to start, so sorry.
Yeah, listen, I enjoy Live. I was more on the side of I didn't appreciate the PGA Tour's take on the blackballing and doing the underhanded thing to try to crush a business that's just starting.
Thing was disgusting.
I went to the first year of Live. I went to Trump Bedminster. They gave us free tickets. We're a small podcast.
Sweet.
We reached out. We said, hey, we would love media credentials if that's possible. We'll come and film every day. We'll do whatever the hell you need us to do. We'll clean up after the event if that's what it takes. And they wrote us an email back saying, hey, thank you for the interest, but obviously it's in, northern New Jersey, adjacent to New York City. We have media coming out the ass. We've given all our credentials away, but here's 4 free tickets to every day. Come and hang out and have fun.
Cool. I did not know that. That's awesome.
Like right out the gate, gave us free tickets. Literally then, our buddy Nick, co-host on the podcast, he's currently deployed. He's in the United States Army, Sergeant First Class. He got an email from Liv saying, hey, we love our troops. Here's free tickets. Any military person gets free tickets to live events. At least that's how it was. I'm not sure how it is going into this season, but I mean, they did everything right that they needed to do to bring the fans in while being blackballed and stuff like that. So more golf to me is better. And I understand where you're coming from, Keith, right? Like the PGA Tour did use scare tactics pretty much against their own guys to keep them from leaving. That's the last thing they wanted to do, was have these big names walk out while LIV is throwing around insane money. You know what I mean? It's a hard pill to swallow when it's like, hey, they're going to pay me generational money and I don't even have to win. Like, I just have to show up.
My grandkids, my great-grandkids, like, are going to be rich. Yeah.
So I think now, and to your point, while it's going to look bad if they let these guys waltz back in, I think the PGA Tour now has the ability to do the right thing and welcome these guys back and say, we didn't want you to leave. Come back home. Like, this is where you guys belong. We're the top tier. You know what I mean? Like, I think this is their ability to bring, because
though, for the guys that stayed, though, to me, that's the issue.
Especially when
I'm with you 100. There's
the state of his life right now.
Like, I'm agreeing with you that, like, the game needs it, and they absolutely need these guys back. But I just
the PGA Tour can't afford
out, like, what is the solution, because something has to be done, especially for like that top tier group that stayed, because there was a moment where it felt like the PGA Tour was about to just break apart. Like, all the quote unquote stars. I mean, Sheffield wasn't a star then.
Smoke to be
talked about.
Like, there wasn't enough smoke for a period.
Yeah, because Rory was basically the only, I think, star, and Tiger, they didn't leave. The rest of the, like, and again, I'm not talking about the most talented golfers. I'm talking about the guys that had the name recognition. They all left.
I feel like the solution might lie somewhere in, because like I said earlier, I feel like it would be tough to ask some of these guys, these bigger name guys, so, okay, you're going to have to go down to the Corn Ferry Tour and grind it out. Like, that's, although it would be great for the Corn Ferry Tour, like, that's, I think,
Bryson would have some great YouTube, content down there. He wouldn't have to anyway, though, right? Because he's won a major, wouldn't he?
Well, true, yeah. I think Bryson's got some exemptions where that's the thing. For the guys that had some major exemptions, I think they'll probably make some more exceptions for them to get back in differently. Other than that, though, I feel like the solution might be somewhere around like using the DP World Tour in a way that is a more suitable route for these guys to. I don't know how they could, like, I haven't thought it out enough to.
It would be more palatable.
Points out, but like, I think a lot of that would be a balance where those guys would accept, like, okay, fine, I will go play DP World Tour for this, however this long, till I reach this many points, whatever they decide the benchmark is, or
even just to pump up those certain events that don't get enough love. You know what I mean? You say, listen, you're going to these 3 or 4 events and you're playing because we need to bolster those ratings and we need to get some eyes on it. So you're going to do that. That's going to be your sacrifice. That's going to be the sacrificial lamb.
Like they're on like a probation or something like that. Like,
that makes more sense than
double secret probation.
Right?
Double probation, community service.
So that's okay.
Oh, listen, I love Animal House. No, absolutely, that hit right on the head. But I think if you give LIV the opportunity to buy these guys back, especially if there's some kind of like going back to the Corn Ferry Tour, they're going to be like, yeah, I'll just go make money at LIV again. See you later.
That's a fantastic point that the PGA definitely has to weigh out when they're deciding how to handle.
And maybe that's what it is they have to give back a percentage of their, their signing bonus or whatever you want to call it. And that goes into some kind of PGA fund for the guys that were there just in the, the years that the tours were separate or whatever.
You could definitely get creative, because at the end of the day, this is what we're talking about now.
We need to fix it, though. I mean, regardless, we need the best golfers together again.
But that's the thing. What we're talking about now it's not golf anymore. What we're talking now is business. And there's ways to get very creative when moving money around and correcting people's feelings in business. They will find a way. I'm very curious to see what it is, but they'll
make money doing it. They're going to make money on it. And whether that's telling somebody like Brooks Koepka and Bryson DeChambeau, they come back to the PGA Tour. It's like, hey, guess who's playing a lot of pro-ams and making us a lot of money, guys?
Right.
Watch how fast that goes into the mix. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, $50,000 a golfer, you could be paired with Bryson. It's like, all right, your penance is received.
And I think these guys' YouTube channels and presence is going to be something that the PGA will also try to leverage as well as a way of, okay, fine, then we'll take advantage of you in this way and we'll you'll get back. There's going to be ways.
Yes.
Okay, so we're starting to run out of time. I do want to touch on, because I promised Keith, and I think that's the only reason why I came on, is that I would talk fantasy with him. I'm kidding.
No, that's not the only
I'm
reason I
kidding.
came. Get out of here, bro.
But as always, we sat down and we started talking golf, and we lost track of time, because that's just how it goes when you like talking golf. So let's talk some of the numbers. So I know you sent me a great list of guys that, honestly, a lot of the guys you sent me were on my larger player pool for this week. So I think we're in agreement. But if you had to give me, say, like, I know it's not a big pool, but
the Cliff Notes.
Yeah, give me the Cliff Notes. Yeah.
So Detroit Golf Club, we've had 6 times that we've seen this event. There's some things that, to me, with a week like this where we got a weak field, we've had a lot of tough fields this year, and we've had some weaker fields, but not like this, because there's no Scheffler, but then there's also basically none of that next group either. And to me, these are the kind of weeks that you pick a lane and you go hard at it. And that's what I'm doing. Because, again, we've got 6 years of evidence. This is one of the easier courses on the PGA Tour. I think it's the 11th over the last 5 years. The biggest one for me, or the biggest things, were driving distance. I don't care about strokes gained off the tee. I don't care about total driving. I literally want guys that bomb it, because there's no hazards. There's no real rough. So length has been, if you look at driving distance in the field, consistently there's been at least like 6 of the top 10 have, been at least in the top 20 for that week in driving distance. In that same vein, wedge play is huge. We've had all these events in recent months where, 150, 200 plus yards, 44% of the shots this week are going to come from 50 to 150 yards. So I leaned in heavily to wedge players. Par 5 scoring is huge. These 4 par 5s, 44% birdie or better rate on these par 5s. So, these guys are going to feast on it. So, again, I'm looking at par 5 scoring. And then there's a lot of discussion about putting, and I get that, because, ironically, despite this being the 10th hardest venue to gain strokes on the greens, it's also the one that has one of the bigger percentages of the total strokes gained year after year. It's almost 40% of the total strokes gained come on the greens. But I take that as it's a putting contest, right? And you can't really know how that's going to go. So what I did instead was just leaned into guys with distance who play par 5s well, hopefully are good wedge players, and that are either above average or elite putters. The only exceptions for that, for me, honestly, were guys that are elite iron players and elite putters, and that's it. And like outside
they always
of that,
stand out no matter what the setup is. They always stand out. And I think like when it comes to the putting too, as just as far as the strokes gained, like I think what sums that up is that it just means that everybody's gaining strokes putting, so there's no edge to be had in putting. Like it just means they're sticking it.
They're super small and undulated greens.
Exactly.
So it could be a deal where you're just hitting it so well, you're not really gaining strokes, right? Like on the field, because again, with small greens. Or it could be, you're obviously, if you're making 40 footers on greens that are not very big, you're going to be, near the top of the leaderboard. So this week, I normally, people know this, I do nothing but cash game single entries. I've been doing this for Fantasy Six Pack for quite some time now. We really changed up my format this year. If you'll join, it's, I believe, $8.50 a month with the PGA code. And I do a betting cheat sheet every week with notes, a DFS cheat sheet every week with notes, my model, and then the article is free. And obviously that also includes a Discord. We talk about all this. But this week, hammering Ben Griffin. He's 9,800. He's in, I believe, 100% of my lineups. If he's not, I'm doing I've gotten to the habit where I do 200 single entries, 2 $100 single entries. Again, I would rather try to make small increment wins. I had a great week a couple weeks ago where I won like 12 grand doing the same thing, but that doesn't happen very often. Most weeks I'm going to win probably $400 to $1,000. You're not going to get rich like you do in these multi-entries, but if you really, just kind of play it safe and really look into the guys with the best advantage, I think you can consistently win money. The one like kind of outlier in the expensive range, because basically it's Griffin, Keith Mitchell, and Cam Young are the guys that I'm pumping into lineups, because again, Young is actually putting unbelievable. I didn't even know how well he was putting. His ball striking numbers, obviously super long off the tee. This is a Keith Mitchell course. I know he didn't have a great track record. Don't worry about that. I believe it's 3 of the 6 winners either missed the cut or finished 50th or worse the year before they won it. So it's not one of these deals where you need a top 10. Like, guys, this is a Keith Mitchell course. But the one outlier for me is Matt Fitzpatrick. And I understand people are looking at it that Fitzpatrick typically does not play easy courses, and they are absolutely right. He normally thrives on difficult courses. The reason I don't care is, A, his metrics are on the rise, both his approach and putting. Yeah. B, he's finished top 40 in 7 straight events, which he typically does this. He'll start like zooming up, and then you see a couple of flashes. But the big thing for me is he is so good inside 150 yards. And when he can pound driver and not have to worry about where it's going, which this is one of those venues, because Fitzpatrick has some speed, he's going to have a lot of shots from 150 yards in. And this dude's 11th from 75 to 100 yards. He's 25th from 50 to 125. Like, I think he's going to have a real advantage. And you're getting some juice on him, both on DK at his price and also on the betting odds. And then the reason I'm basically stacking those guys is because I love the 7K range. You've got Stefan Jager is my favorite play this week. He's 7,700. He's got 2 top 10s here. He missed the cut last year, but this is, to me, a Stefan Jager course. He's got to play the par 5s well, which is the one thing that concerns me. He has not done that this year, but if he does, with his putting and how good he is from inside that 150 number, I mean, this guy's 12th inside of 100 yards. He's 20th from 125 to 150. Jake Knapp, another guy in this range I freaking love. Again, a course that he finished 31st his only start here, but he can bomb it away. He's 22nd in putting, 25th in driving advantage. He's one of the guys that makes the most birdies per, birdie or better rate on tour. You also got in this range Lee Hodges, Taylor Moore, and who is the other one? Emiliano Grillia, who all, I feel very good about all 5 of those guys. So I'm basically taking those 5 and mixing them with the 4 that I talked about. If you're wanting to save any more money, again, for cash, obviously for multi-entry, do whatever you want, but for cash, the only other guy that I really am, I bet him to win, and I'm starting to think I need to do some prop bets on him, is Danny Walker. Walker is 6,700 this week. He's 39th in driving distance. He is 3rd on tour from 50 to 125, 2nd on tour inside 100 yards, 15th in par 5 scoring, 8th in birdie or better percentage. Again, historically, all those things have led to success at this venue. So if you're looking at somebody that you want to save a little bit more, because again, I really do feel very comfortable about those guys in the 7K range. I would recommend playing them over Walker. But if you're looking for somebody that's a little bit more of a flyer, that's who I would go with. But, I mean, it is just jamming for me. Griffin, Fitzpatrick, Young, and Mitchell, and with those guys in the 7K range, which are Moore, Jager, Knapp, Hodges, and Grillia.
Yeah, no, I love that. We have a similar approach this week for sure. I definitely hammered the birdies are better gain metric, as well as some irons and short game. So I think we use slightly different stats to do that, to get to the where we got, but very similar as well. Yeah. So just to add a few names to the ones quickly that you already added. Ben Griffin was definitely on my list. You said that. I love it. Thorbjorn Olesen is someone who's also been just kind of consistently around all year. He measures out, decently here at 7,900. I feel like in that range, he's probably going to be one of the lesser owned guys. So if you're looking for GPP plays with value, he might be someone you can gain a little value from in the ownership. And then another one down at 6,700 is Sami Välimäki. And we've seen him pop a few times this year and really show up. He's 6th in strokes gained approach. He's 9th in birdies a better gain. He's still top 25 in strokes gained short game as well. He's someone that, from a GPP standpoint, he's been quiet as of late. And at 6,700, I feel like he could easily return
playing
value.
Venues that don't fit his game, to be fair. Like venues where you got to drive it far and straight, which that's not his game. This is a venue where you don't. It's nice to drive it far, but the main thing is you don't have to drive it straight.
It's a forgiving course.
I'm with you. Yeah, he's going to be able to hit his irons and putt, which that's what that dude does at a very high level for 25-year-old.
Exactly. So I like that play a lot. And then if you really want to talk about a flyer, if you really want to take a flyer, there is not too much that I know to put behind this guy from a data standpoint to support this. But Hayden Springer did finish top. He finished top 10 here last year. I think he finished T10 exactly. Actually, he's a 6,800.
I thought you were going to go with Lasasso from Ole Miss, who I'm very excited to see play this week.
No,
I really am.
Wasn't going to go there, but let's see. The last time we saw, let me see here. We saw Hayden Springer. We've actually seen him a few times this year. He just doesn't have enough data for some reason to be showing up.
Yeah, could somebody figure that out?
Actually, I'm looking. He should have enough data. This
is what I'm saying. There's several guys on there that I don't understand why his rankings are not on there. I don't know if you have to be part of the PGA Tour to be ranked. Maybe he didn't have full status, but
maybe
I noticed
because Fantasy National is a PGA. It's licensed by the PGA Tour data, so maybe that's it. Because he has played in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He's played in like 9 or 10 tournaments this year. He's only in the year of 2025, I should say. He's only missed 2 of those cuts as well. And that was at the Waste Management and the CJ Cup. So, I mean, he's not finishing high. His best finish was 15th at the Houston Open. Other than that, it's been a lot of like 40s and 50s. But once again,
and that price tag, we'll take it though.
Well, like, yeah, on something like this, like, and
that's
like
a worst case scenario, right?
And those are in normal fields of like those were like some of those were. Like you said, we've had some strong fields this year. That's the the RBC Canadian, the Charles Schwab, the Houston Open, the Players, the Farmers Insurance. Like these are some strong fields on a week like this where he has some history just last year on this course of finishing T10. If you're looking to take a flyer, that's all. Once again, just a flyer. Hayden Springer could be a guy that you could find some value in. Whether you want to bet him top 25, make the cut, if you want to play him in DFS, whatever it is, I think there's some value if you pick it just right. Something like that. But I don't want to. Okay, so I don't want to make Keith late for his next show. He's very graciously is starting it a little bit later because we just can't stop talking golf. So with that said, Keith,
this is the dream, though.
Where is everyone going to be able to see you here pretty much immediately after you get off here? Tell the people where to find you.
Yeah, we'd appreciate it if you are not subscribing to Fantasy Six Pack's YouTube channel. If you go do that now. Me and Ryan Mulvey, who is host of ESPN Northwest Florida's Inside Drive, get together every Tuesday night. You can catch us there, but we're not the main course. The football and baseball content on Fantasy Six Pack is out of this world. We have some of the best rankers in the world. Joe Bond is one of the best fantasy football rankers, seriously, in the world.
Nice
He's
guy,
consistently top. Oh, Joe's the best.
Yeah.
And he's the one that pushed me to change up the way I do my content, which I'm old, so I resist change, but now that I've done it, I love it. And like the people that have joined the Discord and joined us, they love it, because if you just want to look at my plays and not really go into much detail, you don't have to. But if you go down to the notes, it still allows me to do my thing where I rattle off 5,000 stats.
Someone's reading it
on under every play. So it's a win-win for both of us. But I'm a huge fan of this show. Big fan of both of your guys' work, and I always appreciate you guys having me on. I'm always available if you guys need me. And yeah, man, we were talking the other day. I want to have like a golf roundtable or something where we're not talking betting and DFS, and we can talk the stuff that we were talking before. Because I think nerds like us, like we love just talking golf, like not even actually like the tournament week to week, but just like what's going on in the game and that kind of stuff. So maybe we need to come up with something like that.
Bud and I have leaned much more into talking about changing content. We've leaned much more into that side of golf content this year. We made that, had a conversation, made that conscious decision that we were gonna kind of let the DFS part slide to the wayside and just see what happens. And we have had, I think, a ton of fun this year. And TJ knows. TJ's been on with us a few times, and we love jumping over to Scoreboard Addicts with you. What's going on with you, TJ? We got Scoreboard Addicts this Thursday night?
Yeah, it should be like it's chaos. Nick is the heart and soul of our podcast. He kind of reins us all in because Rook's got a bunch of kids running around his house. He's a friggin' lawyer, so he's always got running around to do. Me, I'm just like, yeah, we podcast tonight, guys, because I'm in. If not, I guess it just gives me an excuse to have a couple beers with a couple friends.
In the garage.
Right.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Go have a couple whiskeys and pretend it's social drinking, and I'm not just by myself ranting and raving while my neighbors walk past like, who the hell is that? Why don't they shut up?
Yeah.
So,
hey, what's that YouTube channel? I want to subscribe to it real quick.
It's a Scoreboard Addicts pod, I believe. It should be. I'm terrible at that.
Black background with like a white shield
got
logo.
Yes.
There you go. Yeah.
So, but you know what's funny? I love that golf roundtable idea because I find myself, and it's not just to avoid my coming home to my wife and son. I find myself hanging out in the clubhouse more, just getting caught up in conversations in passing of people that I don't know. And it's always something that'll grab you. That's, like, can you believe Rory really said that I think I've earned the right to, it's like, you get caught up in that conversation. Everybody has a take on that. Or, oh, hey, they're rolling the golf ball back. It's like, oh, come on. Can't we make this easier for us? What are we doing? But those are the conversations that spark, like, all of a sudden there's 6 dudes in the little vestibule exiting the clubhouse to go play, just having a full-on 20-minute conversation like, oh, shit. Should we just go take this to the bar?
Just continuously holding the door for all the other people coming in and out. Just
literally, dude. But it's just, like I said, golf is taking off, and you got a lot more people from different demographics jumping in. So, dude, I love it. You're getting a lot of different
because
people.
there's no prep for that. Like, literally, we could come up with the topics when we get there. We need to seriously brainstorm on this a little bit more.
Let's
but
just connect. Well, and we can
we're
do it on
down.
TikTok.
Like, I know I am. If you guys are, you let me know what night.
Always.
I'll make it work.
Always
100%.
down. Always down. And with this, in the spirit of being down, I'm gonna land this plane right here, as Bud always says. I'm not gonna make a poor joke like I did last week. Sorry for anyone. But that's gonna do it for us here on Divots and Pivots tonight. We will see you next week, as always, 8:00 here on That Sports Podcast Network. And if you missed part of the show, you want to hear the full show audio style, Golfer Gang Network. You can find it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you want. Tomorrow, we got you covered. What's that, Bible Bonkers? Am I reading that right? What are you holding up there?
None of you guys watch Righteous Gemstones? It's Baby Billy's Bible Bonkers. The show is freaking nuts. And I mean it in the best way. So
I just finished Vice Principals, and I just jumped into Righteous Gemstones.
you just wait. Oh my God, it's so good.
It really, like, just the first season alone, like, because I binged the first season, and it's just like, wow, this is
and it's
amazing.
the worst season of the 4, like, by far, because I think they were trying to figure out what they wanted to be. Dude, by the 3rd season, oh my God, like, it is so funny. So just hit me up when you get to Baby Billy's Bible Bonkers, because it's he says it a million times. I think it's in like season 3 or 4.
Everyone check out Righteous Gemstones, I guess. I will check it out for sure. But once again, thank you guys. As always, we love you. Stay classy, and we will see you next Tuesday.